Welcome to Town Hall. Before our regular session, we have a work session tonight with the Sustainability Committee. The liaison to the committee is Mark Russo, Director of Facilities here. So Mark, come on up. We'll have you do an introduction, then we'll hand it right over to the committee.
Thank you, Council President. This is the second meeting with the Council when we meet annually. I can't believe it's been a year already. And with this committee, they're looking to inform you of what they've been working on in the past 12 months and what they would like to work on moving forward, and to get some feedback from the council on what they'd like. The committee is made up of members with the diverse expertise in areas as energy efficiency, waste reduction, and community engagement, to name a few. They work to encourage and engage residents, local businesses, and other stakeholders to encourage sustainable practices, which we all know a small change can make a big difference. Mark de Morinville, seated right here, he's the chair of the committee, and he will introduce you to the others as we move along. So I would hand this off to Mark.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here and to share what we've been doing with you and to have this conversation. If we could have the next slide, please. We thought we would begin our presentation on a bit of a note of urgency. It's scheduled again to be the hottest year on record. I've just heard that we've crossed, a threshold that climate scientists have been warning about for years. So there's a lot to be concerned about, and certainly a lot to work on. So again, we just wanted to begin on that note. Next slide, please. Mark Russo introduced us as a committee, kind of summarized the information on this slide. But I'll just emphasize the three topic areas that are in bold here that we focus on, and those are energy efficiency specifically, waste management and reduction, and water resources. And the bottom paragraph, I think it's worth noting again that we really do focus on outreach, education, and doing our best to communicate with like-minded people about the importance of these issues, and in particular, people in the town and on the town council. So, next slide, please. This is our group, and just quickly introduce Elizabeth Hoy. If you could just raise your hand, thank you. Gail Meisner is here as well. Janine Silversmith, Christine Mueller, and Joanne Riccitelli. And this is an amazing group of people. I left our October meeting, our October monthly meeting, thinking to myself, every single person on this committee is active, they're engaged, they have their noses to the grindstone in terms of the work we're trying to accomplish, in terms of the work we're doing in support of other like-minded groups and committees, etc. So really an honor to work with them. Next slide, please. Okay, so just quickly summarizing the past year, if you will. We did request, we brought a couple of resolutions to the council and requested their support. The resolutions were passed over the past 12 months. Those were for the Building Decarbonization Act and the Composting and Waste Diversion Act. Perhaps, Janine, if you wouldn't mind mentioning a little bit about the advisory we've the work you've been doing with the School Building Committee in terms of advising them and the presentation.
Sure. I think we can only have one of these mics on at a time. So with energy efficiency up at the top, Elizabeth and I have been kind of taking turns going to the School Building Committee meetings, just to inform ourselves and to also bring any resources we might have or anything that we can so that we can make sure that the new high school building is as sustainable as possible. You were at the second bullet, the presentation from Sarah Ross, I believe her name was, from Undaunted K-12. These are the credits that we can receive for sustainability projects. Her focus is very much in school building sustainability. But I just want to say, I think on behalf of the whole committee, we were really happy to hear you be so receptive to her resources and be looking into that. Those credits are part of a law, so with the change of administration coming up, I still think it behooves us to act fast and take advantage of them, because another law would have to be passed in order for those to go away. So it's not just the change of administration that would change that.
In terms of the second item up there, the waste reduction, I think we can point to this as our proudest accomplishment of the past 12 months, and it resulted from a meeting that Rich Bourbonnais attended, and as a result of that meeting, where the conversation was on what we can do as a town to promote composting. Rich reached out to Black Earth Composting, and arrangements were made, which include the town of Narragansett, to have bins located at Rose Hill Transfer Station. And we had Bonnie Blair, the recycling coordinator, at one of our monthly meetings over the summer, and she told us that it's really being used. Those bins are really filling up, and that's exciting to hear. We also have been named by the Rhode Island Food, and I mean South Kingstown has been named by the Rhode Island Food Policy Council as a top 5 community for quote-unquote readiness for composting. It's also, I think this is a good point to say that one of the things that drives all of us, I think I speak for everybody on the committee, is we want South Kingstown to be a leader in environmental sustainability, in its practices, in its actions, etc. And this is one example of that. Water quality, water conservation has become a focus of this committee over the past couple of years, and we're genuinely excited about a community forum that we're hosting on Tuesday of next week, 1 week from today, November 19th, at the school library, the South Kingstown High School library. Next slide, please. Okay, is the flyer there?
Forward one, and then we'll go back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, ta-da. All right, so this is our event. I believe that this information is on the website, both on the town's homepage and on the Sustainability Committee's page. And we would welcome your attendance, anybody in this room who's available. We have 4 great speakers, including Rich Bourbonnais from the town, but also Elizabeth Scott, who's with the New England, the Southern New England program, Elizabeth Herron from URI, Lorraine Joubert from URI, and we're really excited about this and hoping to get good participation. We're also excited because it's been an opportunity for us to partner with these organizations, Friends of the Saugatucket, the URI Watershed Watch, the Salt Ponds Coalition, and as importantly as any, the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board of South Kingstown. Okay. Previous slide, please. Okay. So I'm going to ask if Janine could briefly talk about the tax credits that might be available through the Inflation Reduction Act.
So like I mentioned before, there are millions of dollars in the Inflation Reduction Act for clean energy, especially for the new high school, but for any town projects. So we hope you will act on that. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we are able to go back to January 1, 2023, but perhaps the town projects did not, they were not the type of projects that we can, okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, so, but hopefully with the high school, there will be opportunities to do that. So that was our first, ask of the town council, is that you look for those opportunities, and we're happy, Elizabeth and I, again, will be going to those building committee meetings to encourage them to do that.
Okay, in terms of waste reduction, we're certainly hoping to keep the composting momentum going, and the possibility that we didn't have anything to do with the composting workshop that was held here in these chambers back in the summer, but I did attend as a citizen of South Kingstown and got my very own free composting bin, which I was thrilled about, and every seat in this chambers was taken, and everybody walked away with a composting bin, and that was just tremendously exciting to see. Bonnie Blair worked with the folks from Rhode Island Resource Recovery. It was just a huge success. There was clearly a lot of excitement among those in attendance about composting and what each of us can do, and we would just love to see that happen again if funding is available to do so. Again, we welcome all of you to attend the workshop next week, which will largely be in the form of a presentation, but we certainly hope there will be an opportunity for some discussion and conversation as well. And we will continue to monitor what's going on in the legislative session. So, next slide. Next slide. And that's it. Time for any questions and discussion?
All right, thank you. Any questions from council members? Go ahead.
So I know you don't have a big role in the composting project. I did feel like residents really did want to go to that. There was only 100 people that were invited. I think they had a wait list so they could bring people in. Is there any other way that we could move that forward? I think people on a micro level really could be adopters of composting, but I don't know how to push that forward. Have more events? I mean, is it specifically related to if we get money from Rhode Island Resource Recovery for the bins? Yeah.
So did you want to say anything, or do you want, for the home composting, which you can only do, vegetables and fruits, you can't do dairy or meat or anything like that. I think it's a matter of funding, so we can provide the bins for free. But then larger scale, thinking about, perhaps, thinking about a company kind of like Black Earth doing more and more pickups. Of course, that would mean more funding. I know Middletown right now is, I think it's Middletown, is working on a project where homes they have to invest about $30 up front for a small home composting bin, which you can put everything into, and then the town is covering the cost of the pickup for a certain amount of time. I get Black Earth compost picked up from my house, and I think it's about $13 a month. It's not a huge expense, but it is an expense. So, we'd love to see conversations around how do we get more composting on all the different levels, people that want to do it at their own homes with a composting bin, people that want to drop it off at Rose Hill, maybe another, if there's room for it, another bin there. But then also that kind of wide-scale, town-wide offering, that would be very exciting.
I guess if it's $13 a month and the bin is maybe like $60 to $80, I don't know. I have two, so I'm not sure. I've had them forever.
Yeah, the Black Earth bins. Yeah, they're not. I think they're like $30. You do have to buy a certain type of liner for them.
Oh.
But I only purchase that about once a year for
Right.
maybe another $40. So.
But if you didn't want to pay for the pickup, a bin is only about, composting at home is about $80 in investment,
Oh,
right?
yes.
So, I mean, I think if the council wasn't aware, people were very, very excited about that. My friends who actually got in were very excited in discussing the greens and the browns and all that stuff. So I think I just think we just need to recognize that's a value of our community, and how do we advance that so that more people are doing it? Because clearly, I would guess that most people care about it. They just don't know how to do it. And so then they don't want to do something that attracts animals or whatever. So I think we should work together with Bonnie Blair and try to do semi-annual events until we sort of don't have a waiting list of 100 people for a free bin. I don't know how to do that, though.
I mean, it's something we can certainly contact Bonnie and talk to her about and investigate and see if there are, grants out there and more opportunities.
Right. It's not just me. Does anyone else disagree, or does anyone agree? Yes? Would we like to see it happen more often until they don't have a waiting list of people? So maybe twice a year would be better than once.
Yeah, because I think the beauty in how Bonnie did it was you need to sign up ahead of time, you need to come to the workshop and learn about it, and then you get the bin. Yep. So it's a forced education sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really important.
So, Jim, is there something that you could do to help with that?
Mark, you take care of it. That's
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mark. Sorry.
No, I think we had 140 people show up that day, which surprised. I've never seen a group.
Yeah.
This place was packed. There was a line out the door. So there's a demand for it. People want it. So, but it is grant driven. Is that right, Mark? Yes. We'll see if we can get additional funding for it.
You know, one thing to keep in mind is, I apologize if anyone else on the committee can speak in better detail or more accuracy about this, but the less compost we put in our garbage, the less money that it costs us to bring our garbage up to resource recovery. So, you know, it's laying the money out there, and in the end, it would be better for the town and for the residents.
Good.
Do you have any contact or interaction with other cities and towns committees like yours? I was thinking specifically in the South County area, Washington County.
Just make sure to turn the mic on so we can all hear you.
No, you're talking about cities and towns that are doing municipal composting?
Not specifically composting, but just the activities, the topics that you're working on.
Yes.
Is there contact and discussion with other cities and towns? Because if there's something that would be helpful for the council to work with other councils, by all means, let us know that. You know, if the cities and towns work together, hopefully we're sharing resources. It'll be less expensive for everybody, but we're all working together.
I know that Janine, again, within the past year or so, did some outreach to the League of Cities and Towns, who put out a survey asking which municipalities had sustainability committees, and there was a fairly good response. We began to get a sense of how much this is happening in other towns. The one Rhode Island town that we, as individual members of this committee, have communicated with, have had Zoom meetings with, is with the Sustainability Committee of the town of Scituate. But that is something that I think that the Rhode Island Food Policy Council can, again, be a resource, because they have been recently doing a lot of outreach to municipalities, specifically about their composting efforts. But they have, I think, a really good handle on what all other towns are doing, and are almost certainly in a position to connect us to like-minded people who might be open to having these conversations and exchanging information, perhaps even working together. So.
Great. I do want to ask you a few questions about the Inflation Reduction Act, potential credits to pursue there, cash reimbursements in the form of tax credits. I think making sustainable investments into the new high school building is a great way to try to take advantage of this opportunity for credits. You said you've been, working with the school building committee to help provide options as to sustainable investments that could occur, allow us to take advantage of certain provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act to get tax credits. Can you talk a little bit about potential options that you're seeing now? I know it's pretty early in the process and this is very fluid, but are there any options you could talk about?
We can try. It's when I think I will defer to Sarah Ross, who's obviously not here, from Undaunted, because it's a little bit complex. But I know that I don't, because I haven't been to one of the committees in a little bit. I've been traveling a lot for work, so forgive me. I don't know where we stand on the geothermal test well, so that was a big thing. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
We don't have the final answer on the geothermal test well. They have done the drilling. It is now at the number crunching stage to find out the feasibility of it, and what it would cost and how many wells would need to be drilled, all of that. But so the geothermal, if you did that, the geothermal ground-based heat pump, that would be something that would be eligible for IRA funds, as would things like solar panels. So pretty much any clean energy. Solar panels would be electric vehicle chargers. We don't own our own fleet of school buses, but electric school buses are something that's eligible under IRA funds.
Mm-hmm. Is it IRA funds? It might be a different, I'm not sure. That might be under that same bucket, or it might be under a different bucket, but it doesn't apply to us because we don't own the buses.
So those are the primary drivers, are your heating, cooling systems, water systems that I can think of.
Yeah.
I think those are the main ones that the school will be eligible for.
Okay.
But it's kind of something as we get into the next phases, we're kind of keeping, that's kind of why Janine and I, show up to all these meetings, is we kind of keep our eye on, okay, what are they looking at right now, and is there anything that we can tap into those,
And just a follow-up question to that. You talked about sort of the need to sort of act fast on that in light of a newly elected administration and sort of uncertainty as to whether an act of Congress will change what's available under the Inflation Reduction Act. One of the questions I have is, the way I understand the Inflation Reduction Act is those investments, those assets that are sustainable, that qualify for tax credits, they need to be placed in service before you can make an application for a tax credit. We don't expect the high school to be up and running until September 2027, obviously a few years out. Does that pose any potential issues on trying to seek and pursue these credits?
I mean, potentially, we don't know what's going to happen. So unfortunately, you never know, right? When an administration changes, you just never know what's going to roll out. I do think Sarah's point when she was here presenting was that because it is law, it is very different than a program that's being rolled out through the current EPA administrator. It is different. So it depends on if an act of Congress reverses that, and we just don't know. I personally, I don't want to speak for the whole committee, but I think we're all really, I'm really worried that if the geothermal doesn't work out, that we're just going to go ahead business as usual, and we're going to have a typical conventional building that doesn't take advantage of other things. So I just want to make sure that we are ahead of the game, and I'm happy to follow up with more details. We can speak to Sarah again and give you some more details. And if I can get my computer to work, I will bring up what Sarah talked about is the things that we can apply for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work to advance the geothermal in the high school. I definitely feel like that is worthy and exciting to explore, and hopefully we can implement it. I know there's, as I recall from the presentation, it might be a little bit more expensive upfront, but I thought that she had said that the savings overall would be really good. And I know we're saying it to each other, but maybe for everybody who's never heard this conversation before, it's always good to re-educate the public that the geothermal might be a worthwhile investment for the long-term costs, not only because we'll get some reimbursement, but it should save over the long term. That's how I understood it. Correct?
Exactly. Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, no, it is both, yes, tends to be a higher price tag up front, and then with the IRA funds, ideally, it should bring you down to even with like a standard typical, heating cooling system, or even, a lower cost to us, although that, we have to put the money up front, but we do get that reimbursement, and it is supposed to be like as soon as that is put into service, because you start the grant process like ahead of, as you're installing.
Right.
And then yes, geothermal over time would be an enormous cost savings when you're looking at your, monthly utility bill.
And last thing that I just remembered is not only is the IRA funding a possibility, but also you get credit through the CHIPS program, the Collaborative for High Performance School, through the Rhode Island Department of Education for any sustainability measures that you put on the high school. So geothermal like basically knocks the ball out of the park, and you get a whole bunch of points on that scorecard, if you will. But other things like solar and passive heating and cooling, like the way that the windows are positioned and so on. If you have windows in the hallways, I know that we're farther into this process with designing the high school, so some of this might not be reasonable, but there are ways to get credit through the Department of Ed that has nothing to do with the IRA. And plus, 10 years from now, we don't want a building that's sucking our energy, we just don't. No matter if our kids are in there or not. My kid will be gone in a year and a half, so that's it.
Thank you so much.
All right, any other thoughts? Well, thank you for your time. Great job tonight, very informative, and we look forward to our next meeting. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone. We're going to get things going now. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. We are here for our regularly scheduled town council meeting. First order of business, as always, is Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. All right, next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement, which I will read. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land on which the town is now located. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. Next, we have the roll call.
Council President McEntee,
Here?
Council Vice President Marin,
Here.
Councilmember Bergner,
Here.
Councilmember Sweet.
Here.
It is noted that Councilmember Alia is absent.
Thank you. All right, there are no minutes to approve of previous meetings, so we're going to move to the consent agenda, item 5.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, item
Second.
5.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. We're going to move to item 6, licenses. A is a resolution granting a road race license to Broad Rock Middle School PTO to conduct the Broad Rock Middle School Coyote Chase 5K on Saturday, April 5, 2025 at 9 a.m., subject to execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town and certificate of insurance, naming the town as an additional insured for the event. Application by Jessica Domack. Jessica, come on up. Good. Let's just make
I
sure
don't think
the
it's
the mic
on.
is on.
Push the button.
That one? Hello,
Yep.
sorry. So I am Jessica Domack. I'm here for the Broad Rock Middle School PTO. And we are looking to do our yearly Coyote Chase, which is a 5K and a 1-mile fun run. And it raises funds for the PTO and thus the students and staff at Broad Rock.
Nice. How do people sign up? How can people find out more? This is a great opportunity to sort of just market it.
As always, we end up sending it through the email through Tammy McNeese, sends it to the whole school. Social media we use, our timing company, Empire Timing, shares it. It's on, we don't have the registration up yet, but the timing company sort of sets it up and we just send out the link to everywhere we can, flyers around town, through the school, and just like social media outlets and things, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Nope, this is a good race. I've done
It's
it
so
bef-
fun.
Done it before. So,
It's a lot of fun.
If I start training now, is there enough time to get in shape for it?
Heck yes, yeah.
Yes.
My son won it last year, so you gotta, he'll
right.
help you train if you need it.
kids of all ages, all the way up to your 80s. I've
it's
seen.
so fun. And the 1-mile fun run, all the little siblings come, so it's great. It's a good event to bring everybody, so.
Motion to approve item 6A.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next we got a resolution granting a road race license to Muse Tavern to conduct the 5K road race on Sunday, November 24, 2024 at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. to benefit the South County Health with a $45,000 cash donation, subject to execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town. Application by Jeff Cammons. George, come on up. We'll take B and C together, so I'll read C as well. A resolution granting a Class F 19-hour beverage license to Muse Tavern of Main Street, Wakefield for the 5K road race on Sunday, November 24, 2024 at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. to benefit the South County Health with a $45,000 cash donation. George, we know this one. Tell us what this is all about.
No, push the button on the right.
Okay, it's new.
You're still not.
It's not on?
Oh, it
It's
is.
on now.
Can't see the light.
It's our annual road race we brought back last year with great success. We raised over $30,000 last year on short notice. And we expect to raise, I think 45 would be a low amount. Hopefully 50 or 60 we're looking to raise for the South County Health and the hospital and their programs. And
Nice.
hopefully it's another nice day.
All right, this one's in 12 days. Is there enough time for this one to train for?
Yes, Rory, you can do it.
Just don't go up the last hill.
You can
All
do
right,
it.
all right.
What's the entry fee, and does it go up? Did we miss the early bird?
I think you missed the early bird. I think it
Okay.
ended the weekend. I think it's up to 45 now, if I believe.
And you can register up
But we
until
will
the
know, there is no day of registration this year,
Okay,
because we're going to limit it to 2,000 people.
okay.
All right, any other questions for George?
Motion to approve item 6B. Can I do 6C at the same time?
Yep.
6B and C.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Chief Moynihan, what do you got for us?
Just, there's one misprint on the application, so the race is going to start at 12, not 11. So I spoke to George, beforehand because we have St. Francis of Assisi is going to have their church letting out, so it'll allow better traffic on Main Street. That's what we did last year, but I think the application, there might have just been a typo on that.
No problem.
So
All
if
right.
we could have the motion to reflect 12 o'clock start time.
All right, legal counsel, we should amend the motion to reflect that? Mike Ursillo?
Motion to amend 6B to reflect a 12 noon start time, and C as well.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We also need another motion because that passes the amendment. Now we have to take up the items B and C. Go ahead.
Motion to approve item 6B and C with the noted change in start time from 11 a.m. to 12 noon.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Good luck, George.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
All right, that's going to bring us to item D, a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales license to Utter Delights Ice Cream and Frozen Desserts, LLC, doing business as Utter Delights Ice Cream and Frozen Desserts of Kingstown Road, Wakefield. Application by Michael Celio. Michael, come on up.
Hi there, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to request a license for victualling license and Sunday sales as well as holiday sales. Looking to establish another location. I do have two other locations, ice cream shops in Coventry, Rhode Island and Cranston, Rhode Island, and looking to take over the former Scoops and Squirrels on Kingstown Road. In addition to your typical ice cream food items, scooped ice cream, sundaes, banana splits, soft serve ice cream, etc. We also specialize in custom ice cream cakes, ice cream pies, ice cream cupcakes, and not only do we have them in our establishment in a grab-and-go basis, but we do a very high volume in our other locations of special orders.
Nice.
All right. Going to be open year-round?
Year-round.
Excellent. All right, any questions?
Just wondering why we didn't get a sample. Just kidding. You started to talk, and I'm like, oh, I'm really hungry. It sounds great. I think the URI students and people use that road a lot, so you'll be getting a lot of traffic. I
Yes,
wish you
I
great
agree.
luck.
Will you be open before the road races?
We actually are hoping to open Friday.
Exciting.
The time, though?
So, I'm sorry?
The time, though? Because I'd like to go there before you start running.
Sure. You need to beef up on some carbs and sugar to be number one in that race.
Got it.
On that note, to speed it along, motion to approve item 6D.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Good luck.
All right, thank
Look
you
forward
very
to
much.
trying.
Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, it's going to move us to item E, a resolution granting a holiday sales license to Healy News Store, doing business as Healy News Store of Robinson Street, Wakefield. Application by David Hall.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. Yes, I'm looking to get a license to operate on Sundays and holidays, continuing with the Healy News brand, operating also with the same morals and ethics that the family operated for the last 62 years.
Nice.
Very nice.
Awesome. Any questions for David?
No. Motion to approve item 6E.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
All right, it's going to bring us to item F, a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales licenses to A&S Investments, LLC, doing business as Terminacy's Cafe of High Street, Wakefield. Application by Albert Terminacy.
How we doing?
Good.
Hi.
So I'm looking to have a victualling holiday sales license. We moved into the old flats from over on the old Kingston Pizza. We're looking to open beginning of December. We won't be open any later than 11:30 at night. We're going to expand the menu because, as you know, the Kingston Pizza is more takeout, and now we're more sit-down dining. We have the bar. Food will be till 10, the bar 11:30.
All right. When do you plan to open over there?
We're trying to shoot for the first week of December.
Okay.
It's been a lot of work in there. I've had a lot of people help me out. Even here, the lady in the clerk's office, Nicole Raymond, she was a very big help to get me to this point.
That's Nicole.
Awesome.
Oh, I didn't even see her there, sorry. She was very helpful with this whole process.
Awesome. Can you tell us about some of the dishes we might want to try if we come
So, I
in
mean,
there?
you'll have your classic Italian-American stuff, the chicken parms, veal parms, eggplant. We found out over the last year a lot of people like gluten-free, so we will have a dedicated fryer later for that stuff. Gluten-free meatballs, a lot of stuff gluten-free that other people don't have. And then we're gonna go, because I studied a little bit about it and, when I was in Italy, like I cooked over there. So it'll be a lot of stuff from there, carbonaras, bolognese, Genovese. It'll be a mix of stuff. A lot of Italian cocktails to go with them. Good wine, of course.
Yum.
Well, Albert, I'll tell you, I was at the Elks Club on Saturday, and you put out a great spread of food at that. So
Thank you, I
that's an
appreciate
indication
it.
of how it's going to go. I look forward to it.
That was you?
Yes,
That was very good.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Motion to approve, oh, you wanted to?
No, go ahead.
Motion, I didn't know if you had a question.
I do. We can do the motion first.
Motion to approve item 6F.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
A quick question for Mike. I know this is a three-part. Do we just do a straight-up motion on 6F and then deal with 8B and 9A later?
6F is in front of you. Deal with that now, and we'll move on.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We got a public hearing for you in a bit, so just sit tight. We'll have you back up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's going to move us now to public comments. At this point, we're going to invite anyone who wishes to speak on any matter to come on up. We're just going to limit you to 5 minutes. We're going to ask you to introduce yourself. We're going to do a 30-minute segment of public comment. Then we're going to move to new business and public hearings, move through that rather quickly and come back to public comment. So with that said, first come, first serve. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Alex Thompson. I live in Kingston with my wife and my 5-month-old daughter. I wrote you all an email on Friday about the upcoming town council president vote, and I would like to read that email now, if that's okay. Dear members of the South Kingstown Town Council, I am writing to urge the council to honor the will of the voters in electing Deb Bergner as the town council president. As you are all aware, Deb earned the most votes in the recent election, over 700 more than the next runner-up, demonstrating a clear and decisive mandate from the people of South Kingstown. It is vital that the democratic principles we uphold as a town be respected in all aspects of governance, including the election of our town council president. The town council president is meant to represent all residents of South Kingstown, not just a select few. The position should go to the individual who has demonstrated both the leadership qualities and the public support necessary to guide our town forward. Deb's overwhelming electoral success is a reflection of her deep commitment to the community, her dedication to public service, and the trust that voters have placed in her ability to lead. Unfortunately, despite her clear mandate, Deb has been passed over for the role of town council president twice in favor of Rory McEntee. While I respect the abilities of all council members, the optics of this decision raise serious concerns. The fact that Deb was not endorsed by the South Kingstown Democratic Town Committee, while the other 4 elected members were, suggests that political considerations have overridden the clear preference of the voters. Moreover, Rory McEntee's family connections, including his mother serving as a state representative and his father as the chair of the South Kingstown Democratic Town Committee, further fuel concerns about the role of nepotism in this decision. While personal connections should not play a role in choosing our town's leadership, the reality is that the failure to endorse Deb in the subsequent election of McEntee to the presidency smacks of favoritism. It is crucial for the credibility of our democratic processes that leadership decisions are made based on merit, not family ties or political maneuvering. South Kingstown's voters have spoken clearly, and it is only fair that their voice is respected in the selection of town council president. Upholding democratic values is not merely a matter of electoral victory. It is about ensuring that the voices of all of our residents are heard and that leadership is not determined by politics behind closed doors. In the spirit of transparency, fairness, and respect for the voters who entrusted Deb with their support, I ask that you elect Deb Bergner as Town Council President. The residents of South Kingstown deserve a Town Council President who will prioritize their needs, govern with integrity, and lead with an open mind and a commitment to equity. Deb Bergner is that leader, and I trust that you will make the right choice for the good of the community. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for your service to our town. I look forward to seeing the council uphold its commitment to democracy and fairness in this important decision. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Charles Hall, and I live in Kingston with my wife, Suzanne, and I'd like this opportunity to speak to the Town Council. I'm here to express my support for Deb Bergner as the next South Kingstown Town Council President. Deb recently received the highest number of votes in the 2024 election, accumulating 8,645 votes, which accounts for nearly 13% of the total in a system where voters select the town council, 5 town council members. This significant support is not a new development. Deb has led the popular vote in 3 consecutive elections, in 2020, 2022, and now 2024. The council has a long-standing tradition of electing the candidate who receives the most votes as president. While her record of dedicated service and leadership, I believe it would honor the tradition and reflect the clear will of our community to have Deb serve as council president. South Kingstown deserves a town council president who truly represents its residents. I urge the council to acknowledge Deb's strong community support and appoint her as president, upholding the clear mandate from the people she serves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine Gage. I've been a resident of South Kingstown for 35 years and a taxpayer for 34 years. My sons, who are now 25 and 30, were born and raised in the town, and we always felt that this community was an important part of our extended family. In fact, when my sons left the South Kingstown school system to attend and play baseball at Bishop Hendricken High School, their SK friends, their former coaches, and their teachers always warmly welcomed them back, even though they played for an opposing team. They were welcomed back to every ball field in this town. Every organization, whether it be a school, a business, or a town, has a culture. The culture in South Kingstown at that time was positive and it was inclusive. Everyone was welcomed and felt heard, whether you agreed with your neighbor or respectfully disagreed. But the culture in the town has felt much different over the past few years. Sadly, now it feels divisive and exclusive. And the residents and taxpayers, we want to be able to express our thoughts and concerns about the present and the future of the town, but honestly, we feel disrespected and do not feel heard. A petition was started last week to uphold the long-standing tradition in the town in appointing the highest vote earner in the local race as town council president. I didn't write the petition, but I signed it, and I shared it with all of my friends and neighbors. As the petition started to gain momentum, it was clear from the comments that were being made that over 300 plus people and counting feel that it's time to right a wrong. A couple of the comments shared by signers of the petition that resonated among many are, Deb Bergner is a wonderful representative and leader for our town. She deserves to be president because she garnered the most votes, period, end of story, and politics should have no bearing on the outcome. Deb Bergner is easily the most deserving member of the South Kingstown Town Council to serve as its president in the upcoming term. The culture and tone of an organization is set by its leaders. Community engagement and the ability to see issues from different perspectives is critical to the future growth of the organization. We, the residents and taxpayers, care about the future of the town. We want to be able to contribute our thoughts and ideas in a respectful manner and be given the courtesy of being respectfully heard. You, the members of the town council, are the leaders in the town, and you have the power to change the divisive, exclusive culture. The taxpayers have spoken and overwhelmingly voted for Deb to represent us on the council. As the top vote earner by more than 700 votes, she should be appointed as the president. So I ask you tonight to do the right thing and respect the voices of the voters. Let us know that you hear us and respect our wishes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Masha Itzi. I'm here to support the town council to follow its current procedure in electing a new president for the town council from its 5 elected members. This procedure has been followed in the past and has worked well since at least 2008. It allows both men and women to hold the position, whether or not they were the top vote getters. We did not elect the town council president when we voted. We elected the 5 members of the town council. I do not believe in or support a social media campaign that is currently being conducted, nor should it replace or decide who fills this important position. Each of the elected members are eligible to be president of the town council. Let's allow them to proceed with the business of governing and not get caught up with the wishes of a few. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sharon Henderson. I live in Wakefield, and I'm here to talk about the town council and this 5-person election and the top vote getter. The town council consists of 5 members elected at large in even-numbered years. South Kingston past town council presidents have, for 14 years, there's a list here from 208 to 222. There's 8 town council elections over 14 years. Only half have been top voters who have been elected to president, town council president. The other half, the 4 town council who ranked 2nd and 4th receiver of votes, were elected town council president. 3 men and 3 women have been elected over the last 14 years, and equal balance, that's an equal balance of genders. The town of South Kingston had a population of, no, I'm not going to say that right now. One thing that has to be pointed out, that 27,000, I think it's 27,740 voters cast their ballot for 4 candidates who are endorsed Democrats. The results are the majority rule and democracy works. The misinformation about convention and long-standing tradition that you just heard of the SK council members choosing the top voter getter has been debunked by these statistics right here. There are no established rules about tradition and convention. Trying to sway the public to believe in these falsehoods is unethical. The charter states that the membership of newly elected town council newly elected town council votes for town council president. That's it. That's all it says. The TC must operate effectively and respectfully. We have enough dysfunction in government, and you know, and it doesn't need to be at the local level. This is about a personality conflict and nitpicking and trying to convince people in the public who the president of the town council should be, and false claims and misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Jack Cadman from Wakefield. I'd like to say for the president being elected to the town council, it's not a tradition. You can go as far back as 2002 when Wayne Cajon was the top vote getter, and they elected Barbara Ann Hackey, who came in second place, to be the president. So tradition doesn't exist. The charter explicitly says that it doesn't need to be the top vote getter. It's elected by the council. If the taxpayers really, if the voters, it was an issue to them enough to have the top vote getter have been the council president, they would have voted for people who pledged that they would vote for the top vote getter to be the council president, and they didn't. It wasn't even an issue in the election at all, from everything I read. It's only being made an issue now after a lot of people lost the election. I think it's disingenuous. It's kind of seems like trying to pull out a victory after you already lose, almost. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. Maureen Martin, a very long-term citizen of South Kingstown. Glad to be here tonight. I just want to reiterate what the last few speakers said, that there is some data that shows that the top vote getter does not get automatically elected to the presidency of the town council. In fact, I would say that it's imperative that you as a council or any kind of board, it's imperative that you get to choose your leaders, because that's how you'll work together. Otherwise, there'll be a fraction or friction within the group. So and clearly I wanted to say that it's not a popularity contest. I know that Deb has managed to get a lot of votes. She's very good with people, and that pays off in the end by getting so many votes, and that's wonderful. But clearly, as was said before, the voters in South Kingstown were voting on, you got folks in large, not on rank. And also, besides the point that not all of the top vote getters, in fact, it was kind of a 50-50 breakout in our list, were elected as presidents. It also, because of the gender issues, I think that it's regardless of gender identity, that it's just really the group getting together and picking out who would best serve as their leader and next in line. So I think that clearly it's just a mistake of perception over reality that's happened here, and that somehow people perceive that if you got the top vote, then you were the most popular and you would get to be the president. And I think clearly that's not so. As a couple of people have mentioned, it's also not in the charter. So it's not even appropriate for that to be an assumption. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I haven't started talking yet. Please. When Deb Bergner was first elected to the town council in 2020 as the top vote getter, she magnanimously offered the position to Mr. McEntee because she was, as a first year on the council, she didn't think that she was ready for the position. Mr. McEntee turned it down because he said he was too busy going to law school. But about 18 months later, President Abel Collins one night said, well, I'm going to resign, and we're going to So they had a new vote, and Mr. McEntee all of a sudden became the president. That was just to get him in a little FaceTime there in the throne there in the center. The people that have become the town council president over the last 20-some years all have one thing in common. They were the pick of the South Kingstown Democratic Town Committee. Now, you people didn't go back far enough into the records in the history of this town. If you go back before the mid-'80s, back to the 60s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, you'll find that almost 100% of the council presidents were the people that got the most votes in the election. The issue I have here is that Deb Bergner, not only hasn't she never been the president, she's never been the vice president. Now, what is it? Why hasn't she been the vice president? Anybody? Mr. McEntee, over this last 2 years, has, in some evenings, shows his disdain for the people that come up to this podium. The reason we have public comment now, what time is it?
8 o'clock.
A little after 8 at night. Is because I called him out on it at this podium about 6 weeks ago, followed by a member of the town, a member of the school committee, and we said it's unfair to have the members of the public come to these meetings and wait till 11:15 at night to talk. That evening, a woman, I believe in her 90s, came up here and talked. You could see that the people up here in the middle, they weren't really interested in it. They indulged her, but eventually they got tired of it. And she sat down. Now, then at the League of Women Voters night, Mr. McEntee all of a sudden says during one of his answers to one of the questions, "Oh, we're going to have more public comment from now on." Well, that's not his idea. That was my idea. But he took it. It's what they do. They take other people's ideas for their own. I don't like the my way or the highway attitude of Mr. McEntee, and I don't believe he deserves to be the president of the town council for another 2 years.
Thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak before we move on?
I'd like to say something if I could.
Go ahead.
We got one more.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. I'm Abel Collins. Thanks for all the shout-outs. I'd like to congratulate all the winners of the election, as well as all the candidates who threw their hat in the ring. It's a big task to run for election, and a bigger task, of course, to help with governance. I can speak on this issue of, the vote on the presidents from firsthand experience. A couple times I was elected president by the members of the council. I was not the top vote getter. One time I was. I was happy to nominate Meg for president. That other time I got elected. In sum, the council president really isn't about the top vote getter. Like most legislative bodies, which the town council is, the leader is elected from the membership. And I think that design is purposeful and been proven to work around the country, around the state. There's very few localities where the top vote getter is just given the top spot. And it makes sense. You can do the thought experiment of, say there's a Democratic town, elects 4 members who are Democratic, but a Republican who's popular, has a lot of friends in town, gets the top vote getter. What if they became the council chair and just, engaged in a lot of obstruction for 2 years? That wouldn't be serving the will of the people. Similarly, if you look at the General Assembly, if the top vote getter of some random House seat just got to be the House Speaker, you would not get legislation done. So here, I would recommend all the newly elected members to vote for the person who they think will do the best job of helping the town move forward on policy. I think, we can go into examining how Deb in particular might have gotten the most votes, perhaps by running as a Democrat but campaigning with Republicans to get Republican votes on top of the Democratic votes. I think it's a good strategy. But again, it's not a popularity contest. It's about making good policy for the town. And we'll see what happens when they gather to nominate a new chair. I think if Deb truly wanted to be the president, rather than stirring up anger or resentment through town, through social media campaigns or whatever, then she had ample opportunity over the past few terms to demonstrate to her fellow council members that she would be a good president. And maybe she has. Maybe that's the way the vote will turn out. But it's going to be between the 5 members who are elected. And that's the way our government works. It's the way it has always worked. This is not the 1950s anymore, Doral. And it's just the way we have to continue to function. So thank you for considering my comments.
Thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience who hasn't spoke, wish to come up? All right, Deb, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think it's really hard for anyone to come up and speak. I saw new voices, and I've seen people that come all the time. So for whether you are positive or negative, I think it's hard to stand behind the microphone and write a persuasive essay and give it. So whoever comes, I appreciate that, whatever you did to say your piece. For me, I think it's time that we turn the page. We've had a lot of negative feelings. People come here and don't feel comfortable. I think as a council, the next term, whoever is elected the president should welcome disagreements, should welcome ideas. When elected officials say, don't talk to that person, why are you talking to them? They're the enemy. That reinforces the idea that there's an us and a them. And I never see that. I think maybe as a social worker and a trained person to do therapy, I think about the respect and the respect and dignity of every individual. And we as a council need to go towards that. We need to not look at who signs in whose yard, who's talking to who, because tomorrow I'm going to Shaw's. And so are you, and I'm going to say hi, or I'm going to see you at the Y. And it's not about who you associate with or whatever. For me, it transcends that. And as someone on the council, I would want every other person to work towards that, and not for elected officials to say, your sign is next to a Republican. That is more about what the person chooses than me. But we need to move beyond that divide, and I don't know how we do that, and that's what I want. So whether you feel one way or not, that is your choice, and you're right. You want someone here who's going to listen to you and welcome you and not attack you, not look funny at you, not be bored with you. I don't know. So that's me, and it is always going to be me. And I guess being honest and straightforward is what I am. And I literally can't change my values and my ability to advocate in all situations. So I'm saying that for everyone who spoke, especially the people who have their own different views that won't be for mine. I respect that. And so I thank you for coming and saying anything. People kind of count on people getting tired and not showing up here. And I would invite every one of you to stay involved and keep coming back, because they count on that. That's how things get done, and we wonder what happened, right? So that's the type of person I am, and that's the type of council that we all should be working to create, an inclusive, respectful one. And it's not about what sign you have or who you talk to on election day or who you stood next to, because that's petty politics. And to me, South Kingstown is better than that, and it's sad that we would want to dissolve into that type of litmus test.
All right, thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, we're now going to move on to public hearings. Sven and James, come on up. Item 8A is a public hearing relative to a renewal of an indoor shooting range license in accordance with the South Kingstown Town Code, Chapter 9, Licenses and Miscellaneous Business Regulation, Article 6, Indoor Shooting Ranges, Section 9-158, Term of License Renewal Transfer Application by IDGR15 LLC, doing business as Elite Indoor Gun Range by Mark Fay, member, for property located at 371 Rose Hill Road, Wakefield, and designated as Assessor's Plot 33, Lot 30, consisting of 121.57 acres. Sven, James, what do we got?
Excuse me, I need to recuse, so I'm just stepping up in the way. Thank you.
Good to see you guys again.
And Sven,
thanks for
before
having
you
us
start,
back every year.
Before you start, I just do want to recognize you as a veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. I know Veterans Day had just passed, so thank you for your service.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And if you're more comfortable, seriously, take the chair.
Thank you. So we're here to ask renewal for the operating license for the indoor gun range. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions? It's pretty routine. We're familiar with the business. All right. This is a public hearing, so I do got to open it up.
Please.
If anyone in the public wishes to comment on this matter specifically, I invite you to come on up. As we did before, we're just going to ask that you introduce yourself and limit you to 5 minutes. So with that said, first come, first serve. Come on up. Okay. Seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just a quick question for Mike or Nicole, I'm not sure who. There's a reference in the agenda that it's a transfer, and I wasn't sure. It says renewal and transfer.
That is an error on my part. I
Okay.
apologize.
Thanks. So it's just renewal.
So any motion should indicate that.
All right, we got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, the public hearing is now closed. Do I hear a motion on 8A?
Motion to approve item 8A.
We have a motion and a second. Do you want to include the removal of the term transfer?
Right. For the
Include that-
record, it'll be clear that this is a renewal, not a transfer.
That's part of the motion. Thank you.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
All right, terminacies, come on up. All right, just going to read this one into the record. B is a public hearing relative to an application for a license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown in accordance with the general laws of 1956 as amended as follows. Class B victular liquor license application for a Class B victular liquor license by A&S Investments LLC, doing business as Terminacy's Cafe of 501 High Street, Wakefield, by Albert Terminacy, partner, for the first floor bar and dining areas, and as further defined in a site plan on file in the town clerk's office. Said license is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, issuance of a certificate of insurance evidencing required liability coverage, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes, user fees, and lease payments in arrears to the town, and the correction of any fire code violations. Albert, what do we got?
I'm just asking to approve the license, and you guys have any questions?
All right. I think we got all the questions or answers to the questions we already had. So this is a public hearing, so we do got to open it up. If anyone in the audience wishes to comment on this matter specifically, I invite you to come on up. As I said before, we're just going to ask that you introduce yourself, and we'll limit you to 5 minutes. So with that said, anyone who wishes to speak, first come, first serve. All right, seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, the public hearing is now closed.
Motion to approve item 8B.
So you need, I'm sorry to interrupt, you actually need to first move to 9A and then go back.
Okay.
You got to create that license first.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move to item 9A, approve that before we can come back to 8B and approve that public hearing. So 9A, a resolution affirming the town's liquor license rules and regulations, section 1, as reflected herein. And Mike, that number is going to stay the same as presented here, is that correct?
It's the 30, correct, Nicole?
Yes, so the Flats did not renew their license. He is gaining, it's going to stay the same number.
Got it.
For the benefit of the public, the prior registrant for the license let it lapse rather than transfer it, so that we're down one. This is an application to bring it back up, but the total number in the town is going to be the same.
All right.
Motion to approve item 9A.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Now we're going to move back to item 8B.
Motion to approve item 8B.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Albert, good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's going to move us down to new business. Item B is a resolution adopting a proclamation promoting Small Business Saturday on November 30, 2024. Do I hear a motion on this one?
Motion to approve item 9B.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I do have a proclamation here. I'll read that into the record. So this is a proclamation recognizing Saturday, November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday. Whereas the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees in local business purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 59% of U.S. consumers aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at a small independently owned retailer or restaurant on Small Business Saturday 2023, whereas South Kingstown supports our local businesses that creates jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods, and whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown, do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. All right, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Item C is a resolution affirming a proclamation honoring Hilding Thomas Munson for his service. I presented that proclamation to Hilly Munson at the Elks Club at a ceremonial dinner on his behalf. And I will read that into the record now. Whereas Hilding Hilly Thomas Munson joined the Snug Harbor Fire Department in September 1961 and has continued his service to the present day. And whereas in October 1964, Hilly was drafted into the United States Army and later stationed at HQ Fort Rucker, Alabama as a record specialist. And whereas in April 1964, he received orders to go overseas to the 2nd Infantry Division, Korea, where he served as a records clerk for the 2nd Division Artillery and 1st 12th Artillery Company. He received many accolades on his record keeping, especially for those with security clearances. Hilly was relieved to return to the U.S. in July 1966 after completing a 13-plus month tour. Once home, he enrolled at the University of Rhode Island and graduated in January 1970. And whereas over the years, Hilly has served as a constable for the town of Narragansett, a correctional officer at the ACI, and corpsman and later captain for the South County Ambulance and Rescue Corps. Whereas in December 1977, Hilly transferred to the Rhode Island State Marshals as a deputy marshal, then was later promoted to sergeant in 2004 and in charge of headquarters command and all out-of-state extraditions. He retired after 38 years of service in 2008, and whereas in January 1981, he became lieutenant and later captain at the Snug Harbor Fire Department and remained in the position for 22 years. Hilly was also on the Union Fire District Training Committee and a member and president of the South Kingstown Firefighters Relief Committee. And whereas Hilly joined the VFW many years ago and has been involved in several functions. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown, hereby acknowledge the service and dedication Hilding Hilly Thomas Munson has made to the town and its residents and thank him for his years of generous services to the community. So do I hear a motion on this?
Motion to approve item 9C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say that presenting this to Hilly Munson at the event at the Elks this past weekend was a great privilege. It was a great turnout, which shows the love and support all the community has for Hilly Munson. So with that said, all in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to move us to item D. I'm going to go to you on this, Mike Ursillo.
So this resolution that I'm recommended is resulting from a case involving the town of Narragansett where their short-term rental ordinance was stricken down by a Superior Court judge. Basically, the judge's ruling was that this matter of short-term rentals was of statewide concern as opposed to just local concern. And in her ruling, she stated that without General Assembly enabling legislation, in her opinion, the individual municipalities do not have the ability to enact such ordinances. So this is going to go through the system. There may or may not be an appeal, et cetera. But in the meantime, since our ordinance was just adopted in the spring, and there haven't been that many that have actually complied with it, given this ruling, it's my recommendation that you adopt a resolution basically directing the manager to suspend enforcement of the ordinance and for anyone who's already paid the rental registration fee to give it back.
All right, thank you, Mike. Deb, go ahead.
Thank you. I understand what we're going to do. We're going to suspend the enforcement, but will we ever rescind the ordinance?
Yeah, we will do that. We're doing some work. The judge suggested that maybe one route to go would be to enact an ordinance pursuant to the zoning ordinance. We're looking into that. That's a little complicated. And the thought is if that's the route the new council decides to go into, we'll do that, and at the same time we'll rescind the old one. But for now, we're just going to suspend the one in place.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mike on this? Go ahead.
Motion to approve item 9D.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to move us to item E. Terry Murphy, come on up.
Good evening, Terry Murphy, Director of Leisure Services. Item 8E is a recommendation for an award of bid for fitness equipment from FitTrax Fitness Systems, LLC, in the amount of $21,683. This is for replacement of equipment at the rec center fitness room. The rec center has been open since 2017. Highly used cardio equipment, We have a variety of pieces being recommended for purchase that include a treadmill, recumbent bike, an upright bike, universal machine, mirrors, and dumbbell shelves, all for the fitness room. As you may know, it's a relatively small room, but we are in need of equipment, and the funding was authorized by the town council through ARPA funds.
All right, thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry?
Terry, was this part of a CIP that we've moved forward and because of the funds?
We did have fitness room equipment in the CIP. I can't recall how much, we had it over, incrementally over several years, so there was, I think, don't quote me on this, I think it was 5,000 that we had set aside to start to build up that fund for replacement.
So for the purposes of educating the community, because they have not, I'm just going to put a pin in for 1 second, they have not maybe heard that we need to expend the ARPA funds before the end of the year, and we're advancing some of the CIP projects. Jim, do you think that you could succinctly explain why we're doing this and what the impact will be in the future? Like, we've now freed up some funds that were encumbered in the CIP. How might we use them?
I'll give you a brief overview, but we also have Brian Cillia here in the event this question came up. He can get into the specifics. So under the American Rescue Plan Act, after COVID, namely every city and town in the United States got an apportionment of money to assist and help mitigating what happened with COVID on their city or town. The town of South Kingstown got $9 million. And that was like in 2021, 2022, right before I got here. The town council made recommendations on what they were going to allocate this money to. We need to expend that money by December 31st of 2024 to have it committed to be spent. What we did not anticipate was that because all the cities and towns in the state of Rhode Island and across the country got all these funds, that to hire consultants, do studies, contractors, quotes, bids, so forth, was really going to slow down quite a bit because everyone was doing the same thing at the same time. We realized that about 4 months ago, and they came to me, my staff came to me, and a decision was made to present it to the council. And what was that decision? That we needed to expend this money so that we didn't have to give it back, one. And two, we did it in a prudent way that a lot of the funds that we had in our capital accounts, we reallocated some of that, but we took a lot of those capital ideas and funds that were funded anywhere from 1 to 5 years, and we're going to use a lot of ARPA money to fund these projects that were going to come up either from this year all the way to 5 years out or even longer. These are all good projects. Old Mountain Field's going to take most of it, of what we have, the biggest portion of it that we have available, but we did some great things that the council had voted on. Allocate a couple $1 million to the new EMS station, a new patrol boat for about $500,000 that was something we'd been hoping to get for years, and we finally were able to attain. And then filtered all the way down to vehicles, projects, stuff that we would have had to fund in the capital fund for the next several years. So that's an overview. If you want specifics on it, Brian here, he's the one that put together the formula that we used.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Terry. Sorry for that. I think people, rather than do it at the end, do it before we do all the purchases so that people understand.
All right, any further questions for Terry? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item, sorry, I'm on the wrong page.
9E.
9E.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We got another one for you, Terry.
Yes, item 8F similarly is a project that has been authorized for funding through American Rescue Plan dollars, and that is the reconstruction of the tennis courts at Broad Rock Middle School. There are 6 courts there. They are 24 years old. They have been in our out years of our capital plan. They're in very poor condition, and this gives us the opportunity to actually replace the courts rather than crack sealing, recoating. They're just beyond that. So this recommendation is to award $290,220 bid to Beausoleil and Sons Construction for the full replacement of those courts.
All right, thank you, Terry. Any questions on this one?
Just have a slightly unrelated question. The Broad Rock Fields, when I read about the tennis courts, is there anything to be done? I always feel like that field is very, very wet and the drainage is really bad. Is that a school department issue or a town issue?
That's a very good question. You're talking about the multipurpose field adjacent to the tennis courts?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The town maintains that field. It has had, historically, it's been a little wet. There have been efforts in the past to try to repair that. It's an ongoing battle.
Okay.
And we're, that would be a big investment to try to, I guess, recrown that field, so to speak.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were redoing the tennis courts. There were some improvements we were trying to fit into that field, but no. I'm just curious. That one, I just remember it just always feels like a swamp when it's really, really wet.
It can get excessively swampy at times.
Just no problem.
It's in the capital.
I know.
Go ahead.
Do the tennis courts have any contributing effect to that?
No. I think it's the field.
To my knowledge, no, the tennis courts were put in 24 years ago. I can't speak to that historic look back to say whether or not, caused any drainage issues.
All right.
Motion to approve item 9F.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Thank you, Terry. Mark Russo, come on up.
Good evening again. So GH and I are all ARPA funded, and we did have, we had started some capital planning for these 3 projects. One was totally funded. I believe it was the air conditioning and the tax collector's office. So the first one would be a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Aramco Incorporated of Paulsboro, New Jersey, for the purchase and installation of carpet tiles at the South Kingstown Senior Center in an amount not to exceed $34,283.32. Aramco is on the state of Rhode Island MPA, so we were just able to call them up, come down. They've done several projects for us here in town, carpet in the town vault, in the clerk's office, vinyl planking in the EMS North Station and the neighborhood guild, as well as carpet at the Hale Library.
All right, thank you, Mark. Hey, we'll work through each one and we'll take them as one vote, 3
Sure.
items. So you can go to the next one.
Okay, so the next one is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Connecticut Controls Corporation for the purchase and installation of a Web 8000 Jace, which is a small computer that runs the air conditioning system at the recreation center. And that will include the input-output modules and a whole new graphics set for us to be able to control the HVAC there for an amount not to exceed $11,402.65. And the last one would be an award of bid to Cold Masters Temperature Control for the procurement and installation of an HVAC heat pump in the tax collector's office right downstairs here, and for an amount not to exceed $18,850. That would be the same unit as we have in here, in this room here. So,
all right, thank you, Mark. Go ahead.
Just a couple of questions on H and I. I realize H is the computer, but given the fact that it's regulating the AC, is there any chance that we could try to get those, I want to call them Sarah Ross funds, credit for that?
So with that, I would have to look into that, Councilman Marin. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
So are you talking the IRA?
Yeah.
IRA? Is that the?
That was the discussion that we had when Sarah Ross was here a
Yes.
month or so ago about getting federal tax credits and actual cash from municipalities now.
Right. So I did check into a lot of that, and a lot of it was ground source heat pump.
Okay.
Not air source, which is what we use.
And I think you just answered my next question.
Okay.
For item I, that would be ineligible then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I have
worth
tried.
asking. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mark?
On H, is that replacing what's there, or is it adding
So
to the system?
The HVAC control? No, that'd be a complete new system. The system we have now, we just don't have access to it in order to like open the air dampers for during basketball games, so you could flood the building with fresh air. We have to call somebody in and have them do it, and we usually have to pay them a premium to do that work. So this would give us total control of that system.
All right, thank you, Mark. Do I hear a motion?
Just one last question about the senior center carpeting and the really old blinds. When do you think that would happen?
So I just have to get them under contract before December 31st. We could probably do it in the spring, or
Okay.
We could even do it in the winter if we wanted to. Yeah, as soon as possible.
I just didn't know how quick, like that one sounded almost like shovel ready, like ready to go. So I just was curious how long. It's still 4 or 5 months, right?
Yes. By the time we order the materials, the blinds, those are on the consent agenda. Yeah, those are just a matter of ordering them up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve item 9G, H, and I.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Lance Whaley, come on up.
Hi, good evening. In front of you, we have the bid for having the tower fixed at the police station. This is the 110-foot tower that's right behind the police station, adjacent to, not the new AT&T tower. I just want to make that clear. This tower was constructed in 1998. We had a tower analysis done, and we found that the bolts that hold it to the anchor foundations, they're poorly deteriorated from rust. So we went out to bid for a design build, and All-State Tower came in lowest for $43,100, and we have the opera funds to pay for this.
All right, thank you, Lance. Any questions from members on this one?
No. Motion to approve item 9J.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Lance.
Chief? Is it?
Last but not least, Chief Moynihan.
Good evening. This is, as some of you know, the HOPE Initiatives is a program that the state police started when myself and Jim were there. The funding request here is originally the program was set up with federal funds to establish the program. It's a program where we team mental health or substance use clinicians up with police officers throughout the state. Part of the opiate settlement amount, now that the funding isn't available for the program, they're asking communities to contribute from their opiate settlement money to support the program. What our involvement would be is whether it be a post-overdose or an outreach by substance use clinicians and local police officers for residents in our town. We would bring the HOPE Initiative in. These funds that we're asking to be dedicated to the HOPE Initiative would be used to pay any overtime expenses or other expenses that go throughout the year. Unfortunately, our overdoses in statewide have really not gone down. The officers and EMS professionals are doing a great job. We had an overdose last night, and they administered Narcan and revived one of the members of our community. So programs like the HOPE Initiative, I think we really need to embrace. It's really a force multiplier for us as a police department, and another real big value of it is either we can have situations where someone may not be residing in our town but overdoses here, and this would now, with the connection, would allow the Hope Initiative to get that information so that they could do those outreaches in other communities. Vice versa would be if we had our residents that may have overdosed in another community, we would get that information to us and welcome the Hope Initiative clinicians to come down and help those individuals to get services. Yes.
Go ahead.
So this is sort of a morbid question, how often do you respond to an overdose in South Kingstown annually? Sorry.
So this year alone, we've administered Narcan 8 times. It's tough. A lot of times we have instances where they're reported as overdose. It could be just highly intoxicated individual. Narcan, as you know, is a life-saving drug. There are no negative effects from it. So oftentimes we could have someone who shows signs of either an overdose or intoxication, and Narcan's used in those instances. So clear numbers aren't, to answer that question for you, it's tough to say. What I can say is I think we're seeing a downward swing of the number of fatal overdoses that we have, not just here in South Kingston, really the state and across the country, and I think it's contributed with more awareness and more programs like the Hope Initiative and Narcan being more readily available to people.
Thank you. So it's about almost once a month, about once a month.
I would say even more than that, unfortunately.
Well, you
Here
said
in South Kingstown, I'm saying 31. We've had 31 Narcan deployments where.
Oh, I thought you said
would
8.
No, 8 this year, 31 in the last 3 years. I'm sorry, and then, but that would be officers. That's not counting if EMS was to deploy it or if someone had Narcan at their house and a family or friend that was with them deployed it. But the number of overdoses is high. I would say we at least have 3 or 4 a month.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Council President, I just want to add something to this. So Chief Moynihan, we were on the state police together when he started this program. He was tasked by then Governor Raimondo to think of a out-of-the-box, kind of an unorthodox way to assist in this scourge that's occurred across the United States with these opioids. What law enforcement found was that they could not arrest their way out of this. So really, the people that were being arrested were the users who really were addicted to these horrific drugs. So Chief Moynihan, on his own, came up with this concept. It was the first one in the United States. It's nationally recognized. It was in Police Chief Magazine. He was sponsored. He was written about as well. Our congressional delegation found a substantial amount of money to help the Hope Initiative. Senator Whitehouse, Senator Reid were instrumental in this, and it's been a success. The chief brought up a point that, even though our numbers are not down, in the best case scenario in law enforcement, we were hoping to just keep the numbers stable, not much worse, because most of the country, the numbers are going extremely high. The police officers here in South Kingston and across the state of Rhode Island should be commended. They were given a tool called Narcan to help with this, so they are like EMS personnel as well as police officers. So the program is a success. I support this. I've spoke to Chief Moynihan about it. We've kind of pushed it off, kind of privatized it a little to get law enforcement, out of the business of running this program. But it has been a tremendous success, and I highly recommend that you approve this request.
Thank you, Jim. Mike?
I want to support what Jim just said, and I also want to clarify, because it doesn't come across clearly in the agenda, about the privatization. The Friends of Hope Initiative is a registered nonprofit agency in the state of Rhode Island, and the chief has indicated that it's still pending for a 501c3 from the IRS.
No, it is.
It is. That's been approved.
Yeah, it's been since 2018.
Okay, thank you.
Is the Hope Initiative connected to the House of Hope in Providence? Is it?
No, it isn't. It's actually the clinical piece of it is run by Kodak.
Okay.
All right.
And last question about the town's opioid settlement fund. How much is remaining?
So I came before you a couple months ago about our TrueNoc device, which we purchased. That was $30,000. We have about with this, our current balance right now is approximately $340,000, and then if this request is approved, we'll just be above 300.
Yeah.
All
Awesome.
right, thank you, Chief. Do I hear a motion on this? Go ahead.
Motion to approve item 9K.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to move us back to public comments. At this point, anyone in the audience who hasn't spoken yet, I invite you to come on up. We're just going to ask that you introduce yourself, and we'll limit you to 5 minutes. So with that said, first come, first serve. Come on up.
Jim O'Neill, Wakefield. Late last week, the State Budget Office released their new estimates for fiscal year 26. We're now up to nearly a $400 million deficit. I started speaking to you about 6 months ago. We were $250 million deficit for fiscal year 26. The concerns are they're hoping that revenue growth will be maintained at 2.5%. The problem is the fixed expenses, especially a lot of contracts, longer-term contracts, are running at 3.7%, nearly 50% more. And if those numbers hold, they expected to see a $700 million fiscal year deficit in fiscal year 2030. Serious numbers, which brings me to what I've been asking for years, is a Homestead Act. I'm worried about if this direction continues by the State Budget Office. I'm worried that a moratorium can be put on by the General Assembly. I want to be in place, ready to go. You can do this right now, I think, but we need to have the enabling legislation in place immediately, because these numbers are going to get worse as when 25 comes on, and I'd hate to lose the opportunity. Hate to have you blamed. I'd rather be blamed, but I've been working on this for a long time. So please, would you put this Homestead Act together now? The solicitor can do it. You can do it. But get it in there, be first place, ready to go when the Assembly meets 1st of January. Last thoughts I have for you. I also have been waiting for the ride numbers for students in the seats, the October 1st numbers, October 15th numbers. And we're down another 95 kids, 2,253, down from 3,348, down another 95. I don't know the mix for out of districts and home schooling and that, but that's another big number. That's again, on a per student basis, that's a lot of money. So we've got to pay attention to all these things, because this bond issue is on the horizon, and we hope that a lot of the financing the federal government has to take care of, the Rescue Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the rest of COVID. There's probably $1 trillion plus more of financing the Federal Reserve has to do, and I'm really worried, because if you're following long-term rates lately, we're back up at 20 and 30 years to almost 460, which is guaranteeing us a 3.5%, which the manager and Mr. Silvio are hoping we can hold at, but right now that may trend up a little to 3.75 or possibly 4%. So everything I'm just saying to you now is working against us. So I'm asking you to really help the taxpayers in this town and move forward on that Homestead Act. You'll have it in the ready, then you can decide whether you want to do assessment-based or dollar-based. There are lots of opportunities you have to work with that, but let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, anyone else in the audience who hasn't spoken who wishes to speak? All right, Doyle, one more time. We'll end on you.
So since February, Greg Sweet has been a member of this town council. He got the seat because he came in 6th place in the prior election, and vacancies on our town council are now filled, first of all, by the sixth place person, if they so choose to do that, or the seventh place person. And after that, the 4 remaining members of the council get to choose who they want. Mr. Sweet has comported himself with dignity. He's a good listener. When I look up at him, when people are at this podium, I don't see him rolling his eyes, leaning back in their chairs like they can't wait for the person to turn the mic off. He's brought some compassion and some empathy to this council, which is truly lacking in my judgment. And I wish him well. Thank you for your service. It was good to have a different voice up there, somebody who was always looking out for the taxpayers. Something else we could use a little bit more of up there. Thank you very much, Greg. I hope all the best in the future.
Thank you, Doral. Go ahead.
I wanted to say something to Greg, too. I don't think, at times, the elected officials at this table did not treat you well, did not welcome your involvement or your input. It was partisan and regretful, and I wish it didn't happen, but it did happen. And I just want to recognize that you handled this appointment, unexpected appointment, very, very well. I feel like you came with ideas, and we've had conversations, we don't always agree, but we always respect each other and treat each other with kindness. We know that we're neighbors, even if we don't always hold the same views. So I do want to thank you for coming up and taking the challenge on and serving with us. You deserved kinder, better treatment at the table, and many times you didn't get it, but you never, ever let that deter you from serving with dignity, and I appreciate you very much, and I wish you all the best in your retirement. Cool Cole won't be here, but you're still around, and so that's great. People don't know what a kind person you are outside of here, helping people out with furnaces, giving them interest-free payments. You never ask them, did they vote for you? Where's your sign? Or what party they're in. So you just care. And so that is what I really appreciate about you, Greg. And I know I'm going to see you around, and I look forward to always saying hello to you. Thank you. Take care.
Greg, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for stepping up to the plate, for filling the vacancy. At times we serve together. We don't always agree on issues, but that's normal. That's part of democracy. That's part of a body deliberating and coming to a conclusion or contrasting. That's just the normal part of government here. But it's been a pleasure to know you. I see you in town a lot. As you know, we talk about things like playing basketball or certain diets. You're a good guy, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. So I do want to wish you well into sort of your next chapter here. But thank you again for stepping up to the plate and your willingness to serve.
I'd like to make it unanimous. I'm happy for you that you're going to have more time, as you said earlier, and thank you for your service.
All right, that's going to bring us now to the town manager's report.
There are 2 items I'll just bring to the attention of the town council and the town as what's upcoming. So tomorrow night on November 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., the school building committee is hosting a community forum at the high school. So once again, it's Wednesday night, the 13th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the high school community forum. There'll be representatives there from Left Field, Gilbane, SLAM Collaborative, and the school building committee. There'll be renderings of the school. There'll be question and answers. It'll be a rolling type presentation, so that if someone comes in a little late or whatever, we will start it all over again, We've had a couple in the past. We've had a good response. Several people came in with a lot of questions, and so I encourage anyone in this town that has any questions on the new high school project, show up tomorrow night. Once again, November 13th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the high school, sponsored by the School Building Committee, the Community Forum. The second meeting I'd like to bring to the attention is it's a public meeting. It's not sponsored by the town, but it does relate to the town and the University of Rhode Island. So it's a public meeting on the Kingston Station Transit Hub. So Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, RIPTA, is sponsoring this meeting. It's Thursday, November 14th, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Kingston Free Library. That's 2605 Kingston Road in Kingston, right near URI. So once again, November 14th, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., the Kingston Free Library over by URI. So what is this meeting? So RIPTA is working closely with the University of Rhode Island on a transit hub, which it's exploring the potential for establishing a comprehensive transit hub at the Kingston Station, train station, enhancing existing service levels, better integrating rail, bus, bicycle facilities in the state. So it's in its infancy. It's a study at this point. There are federal dollars that have been designated to it. The town is going to be involved in the planning of this, but it's really sponsored by RIPTA and URI are the ones that are driving this. That's it.
All right, thank you, Jim. Go ahead.
So for the next council, we got resent that complaint letter from the ACLU, and we need to repeal or revise the sign ordinance. Is that ringing a bell?
It is. I'll turn it over to the solicitor.
Yeah, so we haven't been enforcing that. The only reason you haven't had a rescission come before you sooner is because the planning board is looking at that whole ordinance holistically, and I think it's better for us to give you something which is a more holistic approach than just specifically. But I will check with Amy, because she's handling this, and if we need to have that particular section rescinded sooner rather than later, we certainly will do so. But we haven't enforced that for a while.
Right. We haven't enforced it. However, if the law is on the books and people believe that you can't put your signs up.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
Right. I'm not saying it for you. I'm saying it for the public. So the public believes that the signs for an election cannot go out until 60 days ahead of time if you're not on the ballot. So the ACLU, it disadvantages candidates who don't have primaries. So we file in June, and you can't put your signs out if you're not in a primary until 60 days before the election, and it doesn't allow people to get their name out. So the ACLU wrote to the town and said that ordinance of 60 days out is not legal. I was going to say right, but it's not legal. So we need to tweak that. Obviously, we cannot have signs out year-round, although some people would argue the opposite of that. So we need to figure out what will work. But the problem is that if it's still searchable in our ordinances, good candidates would follow that and not ignore it. So we wouldn't know. No one would know that it was not being enforced because
unless they personally brought it up or whatever.
Correct.
But we actually have a little time now to the next election. Not that we're going to take that kind of time, but I'll find it out. I'll find out where that is on their agenda, and we'll make sure we work on it.
Or at least remove that part. So, okay. And then, are you going to talk? Is the only update that you have is the community forum about the school building project, Jim?
Yes, that's all I have.
Okay. Is the forum going to be live streamed, or will we only be able to watch it recorded after?
Well, historically, they're always put on YouTube live.
Okay.
So I would expect it is. Just about every meeting, board, commission, we do that now. It seems to go over very well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mike. It's going to move us to communications. A is an email dated November 5, 2024, from Thomas Hogan, tendering his resignation from the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, effective immediately. Do I hear a motion on this one?
I move that we accept the resignation of Tom Hogan from the BPAC and direct the town clerk to thank him for his service.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, it's going to bring us to the end here.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we got a motion to adjourn. We got a second. Any discussion?